It's good. Right on, we're live. Hey guys, Ray here at Manimal Athletics, gray-haired guys and geese. Are you gray hair?
Some, my beard, some on the sides, the ones are left.
There you go. Tales from the mats. Just had a fantastic class with Carlos, very good friend, well-known instructor, and Carlos, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure to come here and help you guys out, help myself too.
Perfect. So we had a great class, and as you guys know, we keep these interviews kind of short, maybe 20, 25 minutes. Some go a little longer, but you know, I got a bunch of questions. They're all in here, though. Nothing's written down. So the first question I like to ask everybody, Carlos, you were obviously born in Brazil. Were you raised by the Gracies? Were you born, did you train Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu since you were out of the womb and all that stuff? Or what's your story?
Actually not. No,
okay.
I did capoeira. I did capoeira for a short time, but it was a very short time. I started getting, at the time I was growing quite a lot. I was like 12 years old, and I started having hip pain. And then my dad believed that the capoeira was kind of doing that to me. So he took me out of the capoeira, and I started doing some physio, but it was just growing pain. I was growing too much. Like when I was 14 years old, I was pretty much the size I am now. I was like 6'4", like very young. And but then I only did it for like about 6 months. Capoeira.
Where are you from? I know you're from Brazil, but
Rio de Janeiro. I'm from the land of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
That's good. That's good.
And I heard about Jiu-Jitsu when I was young, but I didn't really understand what it was. I heard the name, and then I was kind of confused, but I never really seen a class. And I grew up, I remember when I was probably like 14 or 15 years old, there was a guy from my city that won the world or something like this, or the Brazilian championship. And I was like very confused. I didn't even know what it was, because I remember seeing him in a newspaper. And but I never really thought about doing Jiu-Jitsu until I left Rio de Janeiro.
So you left. You just roughly you just decided to move. You were 18
years old. I joined the Navy, mandatory service. And then I did it 1 year, and then 1 year later I joined the Marines. So and then I stayed for another 3 years.
Right.
Over 3 years.
Was that mandatory as well?
Or the Navy was mandatory, but the Marines was I chose. So they sent me, when I was in the Navy, they sent me to a Marine barrack to work in a kitchen. And in the recruitment, there was called Ilha da Marambaia in Rio de Janeiro. So I stayed there for the whole year. And there I discovered what Marines was and their exercises and everything they'd done. And then I figured out that I was in the wrong spot. I wanted to switch.
Okay.
Then I did a test and had to pass through all the physical tests and psychological tests and some other stuff.
Everything.
And then I did 3 years. Yeah. And that's when I met Marco Ruiz. So that's
we were going to talk about that later, but now to talk about this. So anybody who's old school knows who the legend is, Marco Ruiz, who revolutionized UFC with various striking, Muay Thai, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So you met him before he was popular, or?
I'm not so sure. So it was 1995 when I met him. So I think it was around the time that he was fighting for UFC. I think it was like UFC 5, between 5 and 10, I think. That was the time that he was fighting.
Yeah.
But I only discovered when I left Brazil, I discovered who he was. When he came to my barrack, he came in to teach us self-defense. And I remember the day he arrived, like he had the shirt bent like this, him and another 2 guys. And everybody just looking them going through like this. But then later on that day, we discovered that those guys were going to teach us self-defense. And I had no idea who he was.
Right.
But I still remember the first day
what was that like?
It was funny, it was very interesting, because he was preaching jiu-jitsu the whole time to us, but I had no idea what he'd done. But I knew he was a black belt in jiu-jitsu, because he was talking about jiu-jitsu. Yeah, but he was talking jiu-jitsu all the time.
Wow.
And I know he did luta livre and he did Muay Thai too. Nowadays I know this, but at the time, because he's teaching us self-defense, what he done on the first day was he looked in the middle of, there was 20 something of us, I guess, around in this room, and it was just a carpet on the floor. So he looked and saw the biggest guy, which was his driver. He was really big and strong. So he grabbed his driver. I guess like he was definitely over 230, this driver. He's big and strong. And then he's like, you come here. And then he lying down, belly down, and he asked the driver to sit down on his back and control him. And he was going to try to escape. That's how he done the whole demonstration in the middle of us. And then he's like, okay, can I escape? Can I try to escape? You try to hold me. And then he said, go. And when he said go, the guy just hold under his neck like this in a very weird way. And then he hip escaped and he was out very fast. And then he said to the guy, now you lying down on the ground, belly up. I am not going to hold you. You know how he did. He just put the hooks in, put his hands on a mat and put his shoulder on his face and all this stuff. And the guy's pushing him and he couldn't get out. And he's like, oh, come on, look, I'm not holding you. And the guy couldn't get out at all. And then later on, like 20 seconds into it, the driver was dead. And then he bring him up and then look at everybody and said, okay, this is jiu-jitsu. And everybody's looking at each other very confused. This was the first time that I had my experience with some type of jiu-jitsu. But he kept telling us that we should join a jiu-jitsu gym, and I kept thinking about it, but I was too young and I didn't have the focus to be in the gym. I was focusing on other stuff.
Okay, other stuff.
Yeah,
having fun, parties, all that stuff.
Way too much.
Rio. I mean, what could go wrong? I'm sure lots could go wrong.
That's exactly what's happening.
So what happened? Eventually, you decided to get involved.
So it was in Hong Kong. So I moved. I went to Japan first. I worked in Japan, and then I met my wife there.
What did you do in Japan?
I was working for Suzuki.
Okay.
Car company.
Oh, wow.
And I met my wife. She was a teacher there in Japan. So she finished university and went to Japan.
Wow.
And then we met there. I didn't speak English, and she didn't speak Portuguese. She's from Halifax. That's how I ended up.
We'll get to that, but okay. So she's from Halifax. She lived in Japan. You were there working for Suzuki.
And she was a teacher, so we meet in a beach party, and then we got 3 kids, and then we went. Well, when we got our first son, we came back to Canada, and then from here we ended up in Hong Kong. She got a job in Hong Kong. We went to Manitoba for a year, and she finished her teaching degree in Maine. We went to Maine as well, and then after Manitoba, she got a job in Hong Kong. To work there in a NET scheme, which is a government program to teach at the government school. So that's how we landed in Hong Kong. And there, in 2009, I bumped into this guy in McDonald's. His name is Rodrigo Caporal. So Rodrigo Caporal he just won the World Masters. I'm not sure if he's Master 2. I think he's Master 2.
Okay.
Or Master 3 already, but he's probably around, I think he's around 40 years old,
Okay.
But he won Masters this year, first place. So I meet Caporal in McDonald's, and then he's in front of me, and then he answered the phone in Portuguese. And then I tap him.
And you're like, hey.
Yeah, that's how we start. And then he's like, oh, I teach jiu-jitsu right up here. You should come to a class. And the class was like a minute walking from my office. Then I decided to go one day later. I show up. And that's how it went. I got choked by a 14-year-old called Max twice. Armbar once. Yeah. Choked once. And I went home like kind of confused about what happened. So from that point on, I really decided that I needed to figure it out.
Wow. So I think people often find it very amazing that you did most of your training in Hong Kong.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
It's amazing, but also very different.
It's with GFT. At the time, we weren't GFT. It was just Rodrigo Caporal teaching. We had no affiliation. Yeah. And then after a couple of years, I think, I still a white belt. And then we hook ourselves to GFT. Right. And then my instructor started bringing instructors from Brazil to teach at the gym. So we always had somebody from Brazil.
Was there many schools around at the time?
There was some, not many. I think there was 2 or 3 that was popular. Maybe another couple of smaller ones. But nowadays, there's so many.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Nowadays, there's a lot. But at the time, there was only 2 or 3.
Okay.
And I remember my first class, I think they're teaching baiting. They're trying to figure out baiting bolo, which I was very confused about why I was doing that. But Rodrigo Caporal is from Atos, so he was he's Mendes brothers, good friends, and so I can understand why he was trying to teach us baiting bolo nowadays. At the time, I didn't. For me, I thought that was something that I would never use.
Okay.
But nowadays, I kind of understand why. That was just part of one of the classes anyway.
So who was your main instructor over there?
So the guy who owned the gym called Quentin Arensi. So he's my very good friend.
Good MMA fighter too. I've
He
researched
fights
him a
MMA.
bit.
He fought MMA. He did some crazy fights with some much bigger people. He smashed many people and got smashed many times too, but he doesn't care. He's crazy. But he's my good friend and my instructor from the time I start. And I think I give it to him why I'm addicted to the sport to this day. He is a really good person, very, very good instructor. And he does this full time. As his life is jiu-jitsu, so he doesn't do anything else. It's jiu-jitsu.
Now, would he have a lot of people from like Hong Kong there? Oh, obviously, it's Hong Kong, but I mean, Chinese people or more maybe British people joining.
There's a mix.
Westerners.
There's a mix in Hong Kong. Yeah, there's a lot of local people.
Yeah,
but then there's people from all over the world in Hong Kong. So you get like me. There was other Brazilians there too. They come and go and. There's everything. He saw a mix in Hong Kong.
Wow.
Principally because the gym is right in downtown as well. So you really have this mix in downtown. In Hong Kong Island, there's a huge mix. Yeah. But if you go to the new territories outside Hong Kong, sometimes you find places that there's not a lot of expats. But in the island, you walk around and you even driving, you see foreigner people driving everywhere. You don't even need to speak Cantonese. You can survive fine.
It is
in
a British
Kong.
colony. I think it's changed now recently.
Yeah,
China's taken it over, from what I understand. But
you can still
British
because
colony.
the English is very strong there. So this net scheme, they already have this in school in place for a long time. So I would say like under 50 years old. 50, 55 years old, everybody speak English.
Right.
But then after that, like come to a point, sometimes you get into a taxi where some older people, they wouldn't speak English.
Okay.
Yeah. But they still find you. They don't care that you don't speak English. And if you try to speak Cantonese, they're always very happy that you're trying anyway, or make a joke about you making mistakes. And
So now, then you decided to move to Canada.
Yeah. In 2014, my father-in-law is the reason why we came here. So he was getting quite old and he lives by himself.
Yep.
So my wife want to come back and bring him to live with us.
Right.
So that's why he's still living with us. He's 90
Okay.
now.
Yeah. That's wonderful.
When we came here, he was 80, and now he's turning 89 next month. Yeah.
So wonderful having family though, still that age around and able to interact. So what did you do with, of course, you were a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guy. Do you remember what belt level you were when you come back here?
Yeah, I was purple belt.
Okay.
With some stripes.
Yeah.
And I went straight into your gym. At the time, MXT and Bushido Kai.
Oh yeah, Bushido Kai and MXT,
I went to Fit Plus first, and I stayed there for about 6 months. And then when Fit Plus moved to Dartmouth only.
Right.
They used to be in downtown.
Yeah, they had two locations.
When they moved to Dartmouth, I couldn't move because the timing of classes were not very beneficial. It was tough to go through the traffic. So that's why I stay with MXT. I change.
Well, it was amazing having you at our school and
it was so
training
nice.
And teaching.
I still go there to this day.
Yeah,
I still
that's
go
good.
There. Mike called me sometimes, and I come in, and just about a month or a month and a half ago, I was teaching class there.
Yeah,
I went there and I taught a class. It's always
so
fun.
Bushido Kai when Carlos trained there, and then when I closed it down because of COVID and all that stuff, and came out this way, they reopened up. The Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu crew there got together and opened up as Maritime Jiu-Jitsu.
Maritime now, yeah.
And so Jesse Allen's there, and Mike Hallman and Mike Guthrow. So they have a good group. Mike Hallman, of course, great wrestling coach.
Oh yeah,
I'm going to have him soon for an interview.
Yeah.
And then you're at Halifax BJJ
Halifax
now.
BJJ. Yeah, it was at the time that I became a black belt. I think I was a black belt already for almost a year. So then Joe and Josh had this meeting about opening a new gym, and then I show up to the meeting, and I'm there to this day.
It's awesome. I love going there.
After a month, Joe asked me to teach, and then I initially he told me like the idea if I want to come and be part of it or maybe teach, and then I start coming in, and then eventually he asked me to start teaching, and I didn't know how to teach a class. I'm really glad that they invited me because I still trying to figure out to this day like everybody
we're
else.
Always learning, even when training and teaching. Actually, I find that interesting because when I go to seminars, whether it's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or like a kickboxing seminar or something, I always go now to see how the instructor presents his material. and then I try to take from that to kind of improve my teaching. So it's great to learn things, of course, but I'm more wanting to learn how the instructor presents their material, because some present it
different,
really bad, and they're like, do this, and some are very meticulous. And
I seen different people. See, this is what I think. You find, I think if you throw your own personality into your teaching, you can make it work. There's people that are like very strict. They will get people line up before, after class. You know, I actually don't. My instructor didn't do this very often. The line up is normally when the class finish once in a while, or if he has to say something to everybody, he would line up. Otherwise, he'll finish a class, shake hands, and everybody just go home. And then when I came to Halifax BJJ, they also like this. So to this day, we finish a class and there's no line up before or after. We just shake hands. You know, you say thanks for the class, and we all move on. Yeah.
Do you think that, remembering back, even though you weren't doing maybe Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu when you were really young, in Brazil, it was very popular, obviously, with the Gracies and the different organizations and stuff. I guess my question is, it's changed so much.
Yeah, definitely.
Obviously,
and it goes from affiliation to affiliation too. Like Marcelo Garcia, for example.
Yeah.
He doesn't have all this lineup all the time too. He doesn't do this. And I think that's how we start, because initially we did affiliated to Marcelo Garcia, and he doesn't do this. So we start not doing it. If the idea was that every instructor was going to line up before and after class, I wouldn't have a problem on doing that too. I think I would be a little more relaxed, but I wouldn't have a problem lining up. But from the beginning, we decided not to have lines up and all this, unless there's like a special day or a picture or something, or a message or something. But even when we have belts, we don't line up. We get everybody sitting down, and then we
especially on team day and stuff. You know, it's great. Been to couple of your team days. You have so many people, 200-300 people trying to squeeze in the gym, and it's just
tough. It's tough to line up. Although if you line up, it would actually be a really nice picture.
Yes, it would.
But it's still good just to get everybody sitting down there. And I think because it's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I think it's okay to change. You know, when it came from Japan, I think there was all this. They were quite strict about some things, but now I think it's okay to change. Change is okay. I'm fine with it.
Do you find the techniques are always, of course, evolving as well?
Oh yeah.
And they're, some, maybe they're not, like, even with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, some of the techniques, maybe they're not outdated. Yeah. But they just don't do them as much now because people have developed so many better ways or different concepts.
I think some of the positions it might come and go, like the foot lock, for example. I think it's something that people do for such a long time, right? But then you get somebody that becomes very successful only doing it, then out of a sudden they explode and everybody want to do foot lock. Like the thing now is like lately you have the crab ride. Everybody's trying to figure it out. I know how to do it. I'm not a person that really like to go into it. So if I land in a position and I'm close to it, I might do it. But otherwise, I'm not really thinking, I'm going to go in there to try my crab ride. I don't do crab ride. Yeah. But I understand people. I know people even in our gym that they do, and they're quite successful with it. So it's fine. You get somebody like Roger Gracie who never done anything else other than the basic, and he still become super popular, super successful. So I don't know if you have to do some of the new things to become very good. If you do and you are very good with them, I think it's fine. The same way that if you do just mount somebody and cross choke them, and if you do that very well and you do that all the time and you're beating up people, I think it's fine as well.
Very nice, very nice. So now that you're living here, are you just retired, sitting on the beach doing nothing, or?
I wish.
I know. So, if you don't mind,
I can explain.
What do you do with your free time?
In 2009, 2008, I opened a football academy in Hong Kong. Yep. And I opened another program which is for parents and babies called Tiny Tots. So we call Tiny Tots Coaching and Brazilian Football Academy. So the two companies.
And as we say in Canada, soccer.
Yeah, soccer. They are both the most popular for the Tiny Tots is actually called Tiny Tots Soccer because we do basketball as well. Yeah, but it's a parent and baby class. Okay. So we start when they're 1 year old. So they do 1 year. Wow. Is a class, and then there's a class for 2 years old, and then we have a class for 3 years old and 4. And once they turn 5, they go into the academy.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
right.
Yeah. And we have a lot of venues, probably like between 15 and 20 venues that we teach in Hong Kong.
Okay.
Yeah. So it came before COVID. It was really big. We have like over 1,500 kids. Now we have a little over 1,000 kids, I think,
Right.
into the programs. Yeah.
Okay.
And like 20.
So you started this gym when you were in Hong
started with
Kong.
a backpack on my back.
No way.
Thinking that I was going to teach by myself. I thought, well, I'll leave this job and I'll open a program. I will get a couple classes and I'll be busy enough to make enough money to kind of like, you know what I mean? That's how I started.
Wow.
But then I found a school that opened up classes for me Tuesdays and Thursdays, and they didn't put a cap on how many kids could sign up, and 75 kids sign up.
Wow.
That's how it became a company.
Wow.
To this day, I explain this to people. So I went to the teacher. I said, oh, how am I going to teach 75 kids? And then he said, don't you have anybody to help you out? And I was like, and then very fast in my head, I thought about a couple of people. One of them is Sean, one of the guys that came to work with me from Malaysia right away.
Yeah.
And then we found other people to help. And then Oliver Bacalag, he's from Cameroon. He also started with us right at the beginning. And Oliver Bacalag is still working with us to this day.
Wow.
Yeah. He's from Cameroon.
Wow.
And he brought many people from Cameroon to work with us. We have people from all over the world.
It's amazing. Yeah. And it's funny you said that story about all the kids, because real quick, I used to live in PEI, Prince Edward Island. I was training over there and teaching. And when I was teaching at the YMCA over there, we did a free women's self-defense course and advertised it in the city, Charlottetown, free women's self-defense course. And I had 80 women show up. And it was the worst thing ever because I didn't know what to do. I was only young. I was only maybe 21 years old or something. It was a failure, complete failure. I was just like, what do I do? Anyway, we sort of did a 2-hour seminar, but it was terrible. Yeah. Anyway, thinking back on it, right? But I still say it's the largest women's self-defense course ever, and it was terrible.
But that's how you figure out.
That's how we figure out.
You do stuff, and then you might succeed. Tiny Tots in Brazilian Football Academy was my first company, and I think he's lucky that it worked out, to tell you the truth. And I think it only worked out because my wife also worked. So I didn't really have to, I could try and see if it worked or not, because we could survive on my wife's salary. So if I had to survive on my salary, I think I would never be able to just go there and try such a thing, not knowing if it's going to work out or not.
So now you've built it up. It's quite large.
Yeah, I own the 2 programs. I'm the only owner, and even after we came to live in Canada, so I got a new director. He called himself a manager, but I call him a director. Yeah. His name is Ming. He's a Brazilian Chinese guy. His father's from Hong Kong. His mother's from Brazil, but he grew up in Brazil. And then we have William and Richard. Richard is from England. William is from Brazil. Ming's from Brazil, and the 3 of them are taking care of the company in Hong Kong. Yeah. One is a head coach and the other 2 are managers. They work in the office. Because
I know often you're like, you have to travel. You're like, no, I got to go to Hong Kong.
I used to go before COVID much more often. I went 4 or 5 times a year sometimes. But after COVID, I'm thinking twice about it. I think maybe twice a year should be fine.
Okay. When you go over, you just kind of make sure.
Yeah, I go to help. I go to help, right? Because it's divided by terms. So we do, the first term is right now. I should be there right now. But I decided this year not to go. But it's like September to January. People pay for that block of class. Right. And then January to Easter. And they pay for that block of class. And then Easter to the end of the school year, which is the end of June. Yeah. June 28 to 29, it finish. And then summer camp. So we do summer camp, Easter camp, and Christmas camp every time that the end of the term finish. Right. You know what I mean? And then they have the midterm break for the schools as well. For ESF program is a special, different type of international school from England. That's amazing. In Hong Kong, and then we do the midterm break camps as well. Yeah. It's busy. We have 20-something coaches, and I used to do the fun part, which is like being there, coaching and everything. Yep. Nowadays, I do the part of the job that I never want to do, which is like I work at night from home, looking at a wall in a computer, which is like not what I. That's why you're always up all night. I stay not all night, but until 3:30 or 4 at least. Yeah. At the beginning of the term, sometimes I stay longer. Like right now, I'm staying until 4:30, but later on, I'll be 3 a.m. I'll go to sleep. Okay. And that's how the evening classes work for me. Much better than the morning and the afternoon. Yeah.
Couple more quick questions.
Yeah.
I guess the typical question everyone always asks is, do you like gi, no gi? Obviously, you're more of a gi person.
I am more of a gi person.
Yeah, I am
but
too.
When I start, it wasn't like this.
Okay.
I start in a gym. Our gym was an MMA gym.
Oh.
So I used to be kind of back and forth on it. I used to like no gi a lot. And
Right.
even MMA, I did some MMA classes. But I remember like going back to my office because I always done lunchtime. That's how I would do only jiu-jitsu if I could do lunch because I live a little bit far from the gym.
Right.
But my office was right there. So I did lunch. I would go down for lunch. And if it was gi, I would do gi. If it was no gi, I would do no gi. If it was MMA, I would do MMA. Whatever was happening, I would do it. Even some Muay Thai classes I joined before just because that was all we had. So
right.
I would do anything. But I remember after MMA, after getting a couple punches on my face, I would go to the office and then my brain was like, because some of the guys are kind of like a little bit rough.
Yeah.
So it was tough. I think right at the beginning, I started figuring out that the MMA wasn't my thing. I didn't want to be feeling like that. So
that's okay.
That's how I slowly start going through jiu-jitsu more, and then maybe even going more for gi. Like my instructor is really into gi, so I think maybe I became.
And now he's under the gentleman who founded JFT.
He is, yeah.
And you guys are very good friends too.
Oh yeah, I talk to Julia very often. Yeah, Julia is a really nice guy.
Yeah.
He came to Hong Kong, did a seminar there, and I got my purple belt through him.
I hear he's extremely technical.
He's very good.
Very good.
He's really good. You know, I remember once he came to Hong Kong, and then there was a position, a half guard pass. I remember him telling me how they figure out that position. And later on, I went to watch the fight because he was like, yeah, once when Rodolfo Vieira was doing this, trying this pass, then Bochecha did this to him, and then he wasn't successful. So then they went to the gym and figure out how to pass without being swept. And then he's like, oh, if you watch this fight, it's so nice about him because he will connect the position with something that already happened in a much higher, you know, at the Worlds or something. And then you can actually, he's like, oh, just watch that fight and you'll be able to understand why we do this. And then you watch the fight, you're like, oh man, this all makes sense. It's like a magic. It's really good. Wow. Julius Caesar is amazing. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So ending up, you're teaching all the time. What classes do you teach? I mean, I know you're Mondays because I'm usually go there with you when I can, but what classes do you
I normally teach Monday and Friday for sure.
Yep.
But the Wednesday, it's me or Joe. Like I did it for a long time. And now, right to this moment, for 2 weeks now, Joe is actually, he's there today.
Right.
Class.
Yeah, because you came here.
Yeah. But it's normally me or him. It's Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Monday, 7 to 8.
Yeah.
And Wednesday and Friday, 6:30 to 7:30.
And you try to... Sorry, go ahead.
We always go a little bit longer because there's a 30 minutes gap between classes. So I normally run my class for like an hour and 15 minutes.
Right.
Like
Yeah, because you guys are always finishing class, you clean the mats, next class comes right on.
And it's really good. The gym is very nice. Everybody, it's really nice. I don't think I've ever met a person in a gym that I feel like they're strange or weird. Like I like everybody. You know, and you get like doctors and lawyers and construction people, and we all get together and our main focus is jiu-jitsu. It's really
very
fun.
successful, I think, because real quick, back in say the early 2000s or 2006, 7 here, most people just went twice a week. Gyms weren't available Monday, like morning, noon, and night.
Yeah.
Now, very successful gyms, even in Halifax here, they have morning classes, afternoon classes, evening classes, and really good to cater to all the individuals.
Yeah, we have, I think we have at least 6 classes a day, but some days we might even have 7 or 8.
Sure.
There is a lot.
And you have a little bit of MMA there now with Chris Galades, and you have some kickboxing, but predominantly Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. That's
gi and no gi. We have fundamental classes. We have like entirely beginners classes and advanced. So the ones I teach is advanced, but we have other people doing.
And you guys are often hosting a lot of seminars.
A lot of seminars
Lucas Lepre and a whole bunch of people. John Thomas.
I never imagined in my life to be in a gym that is that nice. It's really nice. It's when it comes to that point, you know, like we started, it was small and we had, although it was nice too, because we would have everybody in the same class. Because now it kind of came to a point that the instructors kind of get separated from each other. Sometimes I don't see Josh for like a whole week or sometimes 2 weeks.
Right.
You know what I mean? But before, when the gym was small,
you were all together.
We would be everybody 6:30 was the class. Everybody was 6:30. But it's you know, it's nice because now we have a lot of people. The class is all very big, all of them. It's really fun. Yeah.
And with your experience from running your football academies, you're very used to that.
Yeah.
Like the way
Yeah.
organizing things and stuff.
It does. Yeah. It does go back and forth. Yeah. I think some of the coaching, the experience coaching that I had, although I don't coach kids in Halifax BJJ, I try to help the instructors if they're a little bit confused and give them guidance in regards to, you know, little things that they can do to improve the class. I don't stick my finger into what they should teach or anything like this. But if somebody's confused, I like to kind of meet them up and then talk to them about how they can improve the class. Or if a child is too young, how they can maybe get the parents to be involved, or stuff like this.
Anybody you look up to in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, like you follow maybe?
Yeah.
Or, you know, like watching their videos or learning more, or just...
I think it goes from positions.
Okay.
So that sometimes you figure somebody is very good at one specific position. I tend to be going to that person, sometimes to watch their fight more often than other people. But I don't know. I like everybody that comes here for seminar. Lucas Lepre, he's incredible. You know,
John Thomas
is so good. Yeah, all these guys, they're very nice.
There's been so many seminars happening in Atlantic, Canada, even with your club.
Yeah,
so many people coming. We've had, you know, obviously we're only on the East Coast here, but we've had all those great people. We've had Royce Gracie, Hickson Gracie, Henzo Gracie, Carlson Gracie Jr. You know, they've all been here at one time. It's just, you don't necessarily have to travel now.
No, yeah.
You always get someone that's showing up.
And the great thing about seminars is that people normally come and they throw in their best stuff. You're getting the best thing that they have.
Right.
The thing that they are most successful. And then they throw it in and divide it into little pieces and throw it to you. This is what I like about seminars the most, because you're always getting some really good things.
Yeah, seminars are important. Anything you want to finish with?
Yeah. No, that's great.
Keep training and
to be coming here with you. Training. It's always amazing. It. Thank you for having me. That was very nice.
It was awesome. Okay, guys, so that's it. We're figuring out the next episode with our next guest. So it should be good. Thank you, Carlos. I'm going to turn off this now. Sorry, guys. I know it's get out.